Goodell defending the NFL's investigative practices.
We don't pay for video evidence. We're always looking at how do we improve it. That's similar to what we did with the Fritz Pollard and Rooney Rule.
In a league that's 70% black, why isn't there more advancement for people of color?
Sooner rather than later, we may be going to an 18 playoff.
It was never going to stay at 4 teams.
An 18 playoff lets us find out, can UCF hang with the big boys?
E. coli, hepatitis A.
A food service worker is caught on camera spitting on pizza dough.
It just takes that one time, and then you'll say, I'll never come back here again.
What you see may change your perception of any sporting event. Get this, shoot this.
Welcome to Outside the Lines. I'm Ryan Smith. Some very strange free agent pitches going on out there. Trust me, you're going to want to see this one coming up. But our big story today, the NFL trying to tackle recent controversies head on. With the firing of Reggie McKenzie from the Oakland Raiders on Monday, there are now just 2 black GMs in the National Football League. Add that to the just 7 coaches of color in the league, and it paints a fairly bleak picture of diversity in management in a league where more than 70% of the players are black. Now, Roger Goodell aimed to fix that yesterday by announcing changes to the Rooney Rule at the league meetings in Irving, Texas. Among the changes to the rule, clubs must interview at least one diverse candidate from a list or someone not currently with a club. And if the decision maker is involved from the start of the process, that person must see the thing through. But perhaps the biggest issue dogging the NFL right now is their handling of off-the-field violence investigations, talking about by the league and its teams, such as getting scooped by TMZ on this surveillance video of Kareem Hunt shoving and kicking a woman. Goodell addressed the controversy head on.
We don't pay for video evidence. We don't have from our standpoint, we think that that's not appropriate for a league organization to do that. I think what we're doing as a league is extraordinary. We have, I think, some of the highest standards of any organization. We take this seriously. We have zero tolerance for violence against women.
What they're doing is extraordinary. Some are begging to differ. Joining me now is former NFL player and undefeated senior writer Dominique Foxworth. All right, so Dominique, let's talk about the NFL's handling of domestic violence issues off the field and Goodell's comments. What did you think of them?
Well, I mean, I think we assume that by extraordinary, he means like extraordinarily good, which I don't think he necessarily means, or obviously he doesn't mean that. He means extraordinary and that it's not ordinary. And I think that it's fair to say that it's not ordinary because I think most organizations would not fire someone based on allegations or wouldn't cut or suspend someone based on allegations. They might wait to see what happens in the legal process. So by that standard, it is extraordinary, but they've raised the bar. They're a public organization where their players are very public and the things that they have done haven't shown well for them, and I think they are not necessarily a model of how to do this right. They are a model of how to do it aggressively, and honestly, sometimes not aggressively enough, as we can remember the cases with Ray Rice specifically.
You know, let's talk about the Rooney Rule. It's very interesting. They announced these new changes. What impact do you think they'll have?
I mean, honestly, I don't think that they will have any impact. They shouldn't have any impact. Frankly, the crux of the rule is kind of just to make sure that guys or teams are doing it in a reasonable manner. Like, you would think that you wouldn't have to tell them that you have to interview a qualified candidate and you can't just interview someone who's in your building. But that's really the main kicker of this rule, is that you can't just do a kind of throwaway interview of someone who you have no intention of hiring. And you mentioned coming in that there are only 2 black GMs in the league. When you really dig into it, it's a lot more stark than that, because Ozzie Newsome, as you know, is going to retire at the end of this season, so there'll only be one in Will Greer, who down in Miami actually doesn't have any decision-making power. Everyone knows Mike Tannenbaum is making the decisions down there, so effectively you really have no black decision-makers in the front office by any team at the end of this season.
And the other point for a lot of people in these jobs is, are they being put in positions to succeed? Now, one more thing I wanted to ask you about. The NFL talked about having the NFL draft in Las Vegas in 2020. You know, this was a league that for many years was very skeptical, very squeamish around gambling. Now we've got a team moving there. The draft is going there. What do you make of the difference?
Yeah, I'm shocked because back when I was president of the Players Association, we had some discussions internally about where we would have the All-Star game, the Pro Bowl going forward, and the Vegas was bantied about, and the NFL shot that down quite quickly. But that was recently removed from some players being at the NBA All-Star game in Vegas, some NFL players, and them getting arrested down there. So we've always, as a league in general, have shied away from not just gambling, but the city of Vegas. But we have a team going there now, or they have a team going there now, so I think they have to embrace it and be honest about the fact that people gamble, and it's part of the main reason why people love this sport.
You know, I couldn't imagine hearing that 5 years ago, but oh my, how things change. Dom, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Every year around bowl time, some team gets jilted out of the college football playoff, and the questions begin. Do we need an expanded college football playoff, at least from 4 to 8? It's on some commissioners' minds right now. Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby told The Athletic it's an appropriate thing to begin thinking about. And this morning, UCF head coach Josh Heupel, his team undefeated and once again on the outside looking in at the playoff for a second consecutive year, had this to say on Golic and Wingo.
I think inevitably you look at how the playoff has unfolded over here the last couple of years. Teams that haven't had an opportunity to go earn it on the field. I think inevitably, college football is going to expand.
And now Greg Sankey, SEC commissioner, weighed in with this. The day a 4-team college football playoff was introduced, public speculation began about a larger bracket. That's human nature. This is not a new conversation. College football has a system in place that has been remarkably successful in its first 4 years, and we expect this success to continue for the current CFP format. So let's talk about this. Let's bring in Paul Feinbaum, host of the Paul Feinbaum Show. You know, it seems like he's saying, I'm tired of talking about this. But, Paul, we can't stop talking about it. What do you think about an expanded playoff? Should it happen?
Yeah, I think it should happen. And quite frankly, UCF has been driving this bus down the road. I think when reasonable people look at what they've accomplished in the last 2 years against inferior schedules, but that's not always their fault. You have to take pause. And I think the status quo in college football has been going on for too long. It's worth remembering, Ryan, in 2011, Bill Hancock, the executive director at the time of the BCS, said the system is perfect. We love what we have. That was on Friday that he said that. On Monday, Alabama and LSU played in one of the most forgettable championship games ever. Two teams from the same division. The next morning, the college football commissioners went into a room and approved the 4-team playoff. I think we are closing in on that. I understand what Commissioner Sankey says, that all these commissioners have very valuable conference championship weekends, but change is needed.
So then does it become a slippery slope? We go to 8 and then people say somebody gets jilted out of those last 2 or 3 spots and then it's, well, why don't we go to 16?
Well, no, it's a fair question, but I don't think we'll go that far. Just like in the NCAA basketball, the 65th or the 68th or 9th team, whatever it is these days, you really can't feel sorry for those teams. They had their opportunity. I think you can make a case, well, maybe Ohio State or Georgia should have been in this year. You probably can't make a case for a team at the 9th or 10th level. I think what college football has missed on is giving up the time from the championship game until the playoffs. Listen, you can look at your favorite website or newspaper this morning and see what the games are for Saturday, but the college bowl games are forgettable. And the NFL has moved in on college football by playing 2 games this weekend. Imagine if we had college football playoff games this weekend, then take a pause for 2 weeks and have the semis and obviously the finals. College football has missed this opportunity. They've given it back to the NFL, and I think they need to have a serious, substantive conversation about changing it and changing it now.
You know, it's a very good point. I do wonder what it does for some of the players' schedules, as tight as their schedules can be around this time of year. But let me ask you about something else. DJ Durkin, it's been announced, or at least been reported by some, that he's in a consultant-like capacity with Alabama. What do you make of that situation, and what do you think, given all that has surrounded him this year?
Well, none of us should be surprised by Nick Saban becoming the Father Flanagan of college football. He's taken in Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian after his fall from grace. He tried to hire Hugh Freeze last year, but the SEC reportedly stepped in. What do I think of it? I think it is an absolutely terrible, embarrassing look for Nick Saban. This is a man that doesn't need any more consultants. He has the Dallas Cowboys operation pretty much running in his building. There are consultants on every street corner in Tuscaloosa. And to invite the criticism to bring this on him, I don't understand. He's the best coach in college football. This is the best program in college football. And this is a terrible look for the University of Alabama.
Surprising to say the least. Paul, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ryan.
Well, coming up, who doesn't love food like this when they go to the stadium? But an OTL investigation says there are hidden dangers behind the counter at concession stands. That's next.